Season's greetings, my movie geeks. So I've never spent a Christmas away from my home. I've always made it back to wherever I lived at the time to spend it with my family. Even when I watched the McAllisters rush to leave for France in Home Alone, it never occurred to me that I could spend anywhere other than home at Christmas. Although I have to say, New York looks awesome. So maybe one day. So as I prepare to venture to the airport and actually spend Christmas away, I wanted to look back at the first film that made me laugh, made me cringe, and made me wish my family would just disappear.
I wish they would all just disappear.
Home Alone. They're not gonna hurt. As I said last time, A Christmas Carol is a stalwart of Christmas movies. It is rewatched by a lot of people, and the same can be said about Home Alone, a film that has a message about the true meaning of Christmas, parental neglect, stealing, and some slight sadism. But why has this film remained a movie staple, even though it was produced on a modest budget and was released to mixed reviews more than 31 years ago? 31 years ago, Jesus Christ. Home Alone is a child's dream of what would happen if they were left alone in the house over the Christmas holidays. It's a what-if story that all kids have thought about, from being home alone and fighting off criminals with whatever is lying around the house. Also, it's Christmas time, so you're off school. You don't have to do anything. As Kevin says,
"What do you mean?"
Guys, I'm eating junk and watching rubbish. You better come out and stop me.
that's the life. But maybe the longevity is because of its low budget of $15 million and that it was released on Thanksgiving Day back in 1990, spending 12 weeks at the #1 box office spot and grossing more than $470 million worldwide. It was the highest grossing film of that year by nearly $70 million. In a year that saw the release of Pretty Woman, Total Recall, Dances with Wolves, Ghost, and Edward Scissorhands. And it was also released in November, beating all those other films. That's a big accomplishment. So clearly, it was loved. John Hughes of Pretty in Pink, Trains, Planes and Automobiles, one of my favourites, and Christmas Vacation, which you can watch that video here, wrote the script and got Chris Columbus involved. Having only directed 2 films prior to Home Alone, Adventures in Babysitting and Heartbreak Hotel, Columbus was supposed to direct Christmas Vacation, but had a disagreement with Chevy Chase. He stated in Chicago Magazine's fantastic oral history of Home Alone, "I went out to dinner with Chevy Chase. To be completely honest, Chevy treated me like dirt, but I stuck it out and even went as far as to shoot the second unit. Some of my shots of downtown Chicago are still in the movie. Then I had another meeting with Chevy and it was worse. I called John, who was producing the film, and said, 'There's no way I can do this movie. I know I need the work. I can't do it with this guy.' 2 weeks later, Hughes sent him the script for Home Alone." So you could say we have Chevy Chase to thank for Home Alone. Not to mention the score of the film being written by legendary composer John Williams. Originally the film was to be composed by Bruce Broughton, but he was too busy finishing the score for Rescuers Down Under. Columbus got in touch with Steven Spielberg, asking to be put in touch with Williams. Luckily, he did, because the music from Home Alone is some of the best festive music for a film. I myself have some of the tracks playing during the festive season in my little playlist. I have a Christmas playlist. Don't you? Oh, also, I'm out of Wham again. I went to a Wham Holler because I heard it several times. There is also a darker edge to the film that helps temper the feel-good message. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The paint cans to the face, the nail in the foot, the flamethrower, the casual branding of the door handle on Joe Pesci's hand. It is a Christmas-themed film that could have veered too far into sentimentality, but doesn't, because there are some truly dark and disturbing scenes that make us feel like Kevin does grow up to be Jigsaw. Seriously, watching Home Alone with my kids, and whilst worrying about how much my kids were into the terror and beating Harry and Marv received at the hands of Kevin, I realised how cruel the traps became. Yes, put some traps to stop them getting into the house, lock the doors, ice on the steps, a BB gun to the balls. But Kevin only decided to phone the police once they were in the house, so he had a little more torture for them. It goes so hard and is so bloodless that the latter half of the film is basically a cartoon. Even though I've got older and cringe more, especially when a nail goes through the foot. You look at the hits, the falls, and all the pain induced on the wet bandits, and they should have been sent to the mortuary at the end of the film. They weren't being arrested. The traps have a fine line between self-defense and malice, and almost makes you think Kevin may have done this even if the house wasn't being robbed. He's the new H.A. Jones. The New York Times dubbed Home Alone the first Christmas black comedy for children, and I think that fits extremely well to this film. I wouldn't go as far to say you feel sorry for the wet bandits, but the film makes it... the film feels like it tries to make you feel for them. This may be why the 2021 remake sequel went the direction it did, because let's face it, why does there have to be a villain in this film? Have you seen the new one? But despite all this, it is down to Hughes' script that makes the film have long-lasting staying power. He is able to give the audience the right feelings for the films he writes. She's Having a Baby is excellent for showing the stress of expecting a baby at the same time as the excitement. Planes, Trains and Automobiles gives you the stress of travel and the annoyance of an unwanted companion, but then brings the guilt when you realise he's just lonely.
I could be a cold-hearted cynic like you, but I don't like to hurt people's feelings. Well, you think what you want about me. I'm not changing. I like me. My wife likes me.
Here, Hughes has created a feel-good Christmas film that inspires nostalgia. We don't all live in that house, but we all have memories of decorating the house with lights, putting the stockings on the mantelpiece, as you can see here, mostly, and having all those Christmas traditions that are close to our hearts. My house looks like an elf vomited all over. Seriously, this is one tree out of two in my house. As Kevin is the protagonist, he is the one making us remember our own childhood Christmases, and that resonates well with the audience. Looking at the film itself, you can see how magical the house looks when decorated. The cinematographer, Giulio Macat, stated that because we thought that kids see everything in an amplified way, we made the lights in the house feel a little brighter. Everything was goosed up a notch. And you can see it, especially when he's sitting alone in the living room and the decorations and everything. Everything's bright. It's lovely. It looks warm and homely. You want to be in that living room surrounded by those decorations. Home Alone is a nostalgia-filled, warm, funny Christmas film that keeps you coming back year after year because it is timeless. It is timeless. It feels fresh, even though it's over 30 years old, having a mix of nostalgia, humour, cruel violence, and heartfelt moments. It lives on as one of the best go-to Christmas films ever made. Have you watched Home Alone yet? Have you seen the latest film, Home Sweet Home Alone? I have. It's not as bad as some might say. It's not great, it doesn't have the charm, but it tries. Let me know in the comments below, and please, if you enjoyed this, subscribe and ring that Christmas bell, and I'll see you tomorrow. Merry Christmas.
Bottom of the You know you're